Hey guys, thanks for hanging out with me again. We are moving on to step 2 with Midnight in the Garden of Good and Evil. As you can see, we're back up in PhotoDirector365 and we are going to do some image enhancement at this point. Just going to zoom it up. That's probably a little too big, so we're going to go to our custom, go 75. Kind of want to be looking at these guys because I'm going to start with a little bit of denoise and see what we get. And I don't see a whole lot. I made some of the stuff a little bit cleaner. Check over here, clear it out, apply it. Yep, it did make it cleaner. Check it on the whole picture because this is always a process. Some things work really well, some things don't really work really well. You just got to kind of play around with it a little bit. And I'm going to play with the deblur as well. Now I don't see much anything there, but we'll go up a little bit zoom wise. Yeah, I like that 75%. That's a little bit bigger. So let's clear that out of there. See what we get with the deblur. Not a whole lot better. I don't even think it makes it any better. So yeah, I think we're just going to leave the deblur alone. And we'll check auto color enhancement just to see what it does. And it just made the background a little bluer. So we'll just clear that out of there. Get out of there. All right, undid that. Oops, we don't want to undo the denoise. So we'll let that go and do its thing. Since we backed up one too many spots there. And we'll process that, and then we'll go into our manual adjustments. Now this is for the whole photo. So I'm going to play around with this a little bit, and if I don't like what it's doing on one side versus the other, I'm going to split it into layers and we'll do it by layers. But I thought we should start here. You should always start with the easiest solution is the way that I think of things. So I'm going to play with the temperature a little bit just to see what we get. Go a little warmer. Kind of digging what it does to the fire. There we go, pointing at the screen like you guys can see that. I like what it does with the fire, but I don't like what it does on the other side of the screen. Now, if we go a little bit, and the reason why I'm doing white balance is because this will give me kind of an idea of what starts to happen as I start to add in blues and reds and oranges and things like that. I'm just kind of doing an overview of the picture. And I kind of like her side getting bluer, but I don't really like his side getting bluer. So I'm just going to double click on that and reset it to 0. Tint wise, we can play around a little bit with the tint to see what that's going to do. And that does kind of do what I want it to do, but not super good. So I'm just going to get rid of the white balance for right now. I'm going to close up the tone and the color, and we're just going to go down here in detail, which is our sharpness. And I don't want to get his bones and stuff popping out too much. So I really want to play with the sharpness on him. Because if this gets too grainy, it's just not going to work for print on demand. So as we take it up, you can see what I'm talking about, how it gets all grainy in here. It's just not what I want to see. I mean, I like the idea of having a nice, crisp, sharp picture, but if sharpness is not the way to go, sharpness is not the way to go. I think if we put a little bit in, it's probably not too bad, like maybe 15. So I don't want to get him too blown out of proportion. We're zoomed up too far for the radius to really show us anything. But the edge mask is something I didn't play with in the last video. This can actually dampen some of that graininess that you get out of the sharpness, because it's actually going to mask the edges a little bit with a little bit of shadow. I've actually got to back out a little bit out here to see what we get with the radius. And I'm not seeing a whole lot. Of course, we didn't add a whole lot of sharpness. So I'm going to turn the radius all the way up. I'm going to set the edge mask up a little bit, and then I'm going to zoom back in on our guy here, because that's the most important aspect of this. Anytime you're dealing with anything skeletal, unfortunately, I've found out you can really get it grainy in a hurry and not be able to undo it. So I'm not getting a whole lot off of either of those. I'm going to close that up, and we're going to go back up to tone, which is where our exposure, contrast, clarity, and I'm going to play a little bit with the clarity to begin with. And same thing as with the sharpness. I don't want to make him too grainy. I would rather have him stay skeletal and not wiry. So I'm not getting a whole lot there. Let's back out and see what we're getting as far as the picture is concerned. I think we're probably good to put a little clarity in there and play with the vibrance a little bit. Not getting a whole lot there. Saturation obviously is going to give us a lot more red over there, or black and white. Just going to leave that at 0. I am going to check the dehaze. See how much, like, it brightens the whole page. It's almost like exposure. But again, I want to be zoomed up on him because I want to know what it's doing to him. Because when we blow this up to 20 by 30, it's, if it looks too grainy, it's gonna look too grainy. So what we're trying to avoid is exactly that. And we might actually do a little negative dehaze. You see how that affects the rest of the picture. Okay, that's not too negative on the rest of the picture. It's a little lighter than what I want it over here. And like I said, this is, one of those situations where I'm looking at a picture and I'm going, I don't think adjusting the whole thing is the way I want to go, but I want to try this first and see what I get. Now, if I play with the contrast again on him, we take some of that lightness out from the dehaze. But there again, I don't want it to make him stringy and stuff like that. So I think we're all right with a little bit of contrast too, as long as we're not seeing too much of a difference in the overall picture. Now, exposure, you can obviously expose or de-expose a picture, and you can use a lot of it very quickly. So the moral of this story is um, that this isn't going to work. So I'm going to have to individualize this. So this was an experiment. We're going to clear off everything we did. We're not going to do anything in the manual stuff on this one. I think I'm going to cut this video at this point in time because I walked you through that. So basically all we did was do the denoise, check the deblur, check the auto color enhancement, and then we checked the adjustments that we can make individually on the picture as a whole. So I'm going to I don't even have to save this, but I'm going to cut the video off here. I'm going to make into the next video into the design side, and we're going to play around with doing it in layers. So on the next one, I will see you guys. Thanks for hanging out with me today, and remember to let the chaos out. Become creative. If this old coot, after all these years, can do it, you guys can do it as well.